Yo, what's up? Welcome to this episode of Gilligan's Island. Just kidding. Haha. It's My Life Monday with Mike, your mentor. Hope you guys had a good start to your week. I took some time today to go to the beach with my daughter and my wife and hang out at the beach. The water was nice. It's good being there on a Monday and not too super crowded, and walk around and get some ice cream and some tacos. So yeah, all in all, it was a good day. So if you're watching this live, I'd appreciate it if you hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. And so My Life Monday, I'm going to just talk about a couple things that I found interesting from this previous week. Stir up a little controversy, maybe, or talk a little conspiracy. Yeah, and then and get out of here. So um, I really tried to focus on getting back into the habit of reading. I used to be pretty religious when it came to reading every single day, and I've gotten away from that over the past probably couple of years. And I think it's extremely important to be a lifelong learner, and one of the ways that you do that is you consume information, right? And one of the best ways is books. So I was having some struggle just staying on top of that with an actual physical book. So I made the move to Audible, and I've been starting to listen to a new book. And that book, I was at a men's I don't know event uh, at my local church this past Saturday, and there were some visitors there, and one had this book that he said he was going through it with some men at his church, and I had heard about this book before, but I had never really dug into it, and he let me see it, and so I started reading the first couple of pages, and immediately something jumped out at me, and it was a list of the 5 things that in this book that the author said prevented the Israelites from going into the Promised Land in getting what God had promised them, right, and all that entails, and that really spoke to me, and I couldn't stop thinking about that. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get this book, but I'm gonna get it on Audible so that I can stick to actually reading it. So it's a good book. It's called Maximized Manhood by Dr. Edwin Lewis Cole, and I think it's like 4.5 hours on Audible, and I'm like 2 hours into it. So it's good, and I'm looking forward to continuing that habit. I think Audible is going to be my new best friend because I can just have these books on my phone and listen to them while I work out, and that'll just help me stick to my goal of getting and feeding myself these types of things every single day. So I seriously recommend that. The second thing I want to talk about tonight is I love documentaries. So like Netflix, Amazon Prime, like I'm kind of a documentary fiend. I just love the way documentaries portray the human story, and whatever they're talking about. And I really don't have a genre that's like off limit. I just love a good story, right? And so a couple of documentaries that I watched this week that I find interesting, and maybe you'll check them out. So the first one was on Netflix, and I gotta look this up a minute. And it was called it's called Screwball, and basically, whoops, come on, sorry about that.
This was a group.
Alright, so Screwball. So basically what that's about is it's about the drug steroid scandal in Major League Baseball that took place in maybe it was the early 2000s, whatever. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Joe Canseco, and then leading all the way through Alex Rodriguez in his suspension. And it was, man, it was fascinating, right? Like to get these behind the scenes stories from like the actual people that were convicted of supplying these players with their performance enhancement drugs, and just how wrapped up it was. I thought it was really good, so I would encourage you to check that out. It's interesting, right? The lengths that people will go to preserve their legacy. In how as humans we can all get caught up in that, right? Where we've become something to somebody, and we're willing to do whatever it takes to maintain that, right? To have that identity, to wear that mask, however you want to talk about it. And if that means cheating, if that means lying, if that means paying people off, uh, you name it. So, a very fascinating story. The second one that I want to suggest that you check out, that I'm almost done with, is this documentary called Roll Red. Oh, darn it. It's called Roll Red Roll. And I don't know if you remember this story. I remember it now that I'm watching this documentary, but in 2010/11, there was this football team in Ohio, and these football players had this party, and this girl was allegedly, I haven't finished the documentary, so I don't know, was allegedly raped, right? And these kids, man, I can't imagine what life would be like as a kid today with like social media and all this stuff, right? So these kids, they take photos of what they did to this girl. They text each other. They put stuff out there on Twitter, right? And this lady, for some reason, I think maybe I missed that point, but she started seeing all this going on, and she started snooping into it, right? Internet super sleuth, and she started compiling all these texts, and like through following all this stuff on the internet, she put together this story and put it on her blog about, this is what happened, and no one knows, in this town is like trying to cover it up, like the football coach and like the police department, all this stuff, right? So all of a sudden this story becomes like starts to gain momentum, and then it gains national attention when the group Anonymous hacks in to the high school website and posts this video of what really happened, or the video that one of the kids had shot on the website for all these people to see, and demanding that justice take place, right? So I'm like right at that point where they just posted this video, and now there's all this public outrage across the country, and for this case to get settled. So extremely interesting, right? Because you have the football players saying they didn't do it. The girl doesn't remember what happened, and then from a legal perspective, I never knew this, but and I don't know if it's different by state or whatever, but at least where this took place is the prosecutor was saying that the kid who filmed what happened and uploaded it, right, that couldn't be used to prove anything, and he committed no crime, right? I mean, obviously it was horrible that he did that, right, that he filmed this thing and put it online, but that in itself was not a crime, and I should clarify. So the video had no like penetration or anything like that. It was just this girl passed out, and then them talking about what they did to the girl. So and then all the text messages in the cell phone records that they have, and all these posts on the internet, they had something like 400,000, right, from all these, not only the kids, but all these people who commented, and the kids commented back, and all this thing, right? So 400,000 of these social media posts and texts that they had, and the prosecutor said that even though they put that stuff on there, it still didn't constitute a crime. Like, she had to be able to prove penetration, and the only way that she could do that is to get one of the three kids to testify against, the other two, right? So I'm in the middle of all that. So extremely interesting, right? I'm intrigued to see how this plays out, because it reminds me, I find it interesting because I had a conversation, probably I want to say in the last week or two, with somebody about the Duke lacrosse scandal, and how when that came out, and the media first reported it. I remember being in college and sitting around in our dorm room, or maybe we were had a house at that time, but with just the guys, and being like, oh yeah, those guys did it, right? Just like I think the majority of people thought. And then to watch that thing play out, right, and it comes to find out that they didn't do any of it, and the ramifications that it had on their lives, as well as the girl or the woman that lied about it, right? And then the prosecutor who knew that it was a lie, but still needed to pin it on somebody, and destroyed these guys' lives through the process of doing that. So that made me think of that, which is really interesting. So the last thing that I want to talk about is so one of my other favorite pastimes is conspiracy theories, and I know there's some people that are rolling their eyes out there. Do I necessarily believe in conspiracy theories? I think it depends, but I find it fascinating because I don't know how many people I've said this to, but I think we're quickly approaching a time in the world where you won't be able to know what's true or not. So what do I mean by that? I mean that there is now software out there that can that you can, or that they can take a picture of somebody's face, and then I think they need like 10 seconds of that person speaking, and they can make a video that looks just like that person saying whatever they want, right? And so far that I've known, that no one has used that maliciously. But I mean that, right? That just opens up the door for all this stuff. And I think that as technology continues to grow at a rapid pace, I think someone said that computers, that the technology in computers is growing at a pace of a new computer is outdated every 9 months, right? They become faster, smarter, and that's crazy. And pretty soon, I don't know what the year is. Maybe it was 2025 or maybe it was 2040, right? They predict that's when that technology will be able to surpass the human brain, and that's crazy, right? So I think that what comes along with that is they will be able to project some sort of hologram, something, to where you're seeing something with your own eyes that looks real to you in that moment, but actually is not real. And I think that as the days tick by, we're getting closer and closer to that. And that's what I mean by you won't be able to tell what's true or not, even if you're actually standing there. And that's pretty crazy. And maybe that's a little far-fetched, and that even if that technology is available, it won't be used for evil purposes. But I don't think that that's the case. I think it will be weaponized, or I think it will be used to for a lot of bad reasons, right? So I say all that to say two things. So this Jeffrey Epstein case has me really fascinated, because once again it's quickly spiraling into this huge conspiracy of, did he die? Did he not die? He was taken off suicide watch, and then there's no camera footage inside the cell of what happened. Those were turned off. So, was he secretly taken out of the prison by, some military unit, and now he's just being placed in hiding until the day that they need him to come out and testify and all that stuff. You know, or did he really die? And they're saying, I think today, that he hung himself from his bunk bed. So there's all the stuff that's not adding up that people are chiming in, and it's really interesting. I guess I just love the drama, right? As all these people add their 2 cents, and you have people that come out of the woodwork to say, like one guy says, well, I was in that type of situation where I was on 24-hour surveillance and blah, 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 and it's impossible to hang yourself. The sheets that they give you are like basically made out of paper. They would never withstand the weight. So all these things, right? Little these little things that people inject that make you doubt the official story. So I find this interesting as this whole thing is unraveling. Um, I don't know why. I just think it's interesting, and I think it just feeds into this theory that I have that we won't know the truth. I mean, I just think about the Las Vegas shooter, right, and everything that went down there. Still don't know his motive. Still don't necessarily know everything that happened. Just what we're told by media, and then I guess whatever rabbit hole websites you read online. So I thought that would be interesting to talk about tonight, and just share a little bit more about my life with you guys, and what I like, and the things like I like talking about when I go down the rabbit hole with people, because some people are like, they don't think it's okay to talk about that because they might be labeled as weird or delusional, or all the stuff that comes along with that. But I try to keep an open mind with everything, and get as much information about it so I can make my own decisions regarding that. So interesting. But yeah, that's it for My Life Monday. I hope you guys had a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Tuesday Thoughts. Peace.